Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is a little after 5 o'clock on a Wednesday. It's now the 11th of October, 2017 in America and Canada and Mexico and Puerto Rico and so many other places that are catching this show now. And Prohibition still rages on. It rages on in spite of legalization. It rages on in spite of medical laws. It rages on in spite of all the little tricks that we are told are going to keep that from happening. I just spent some time with a friend of mine who is a cannabis grower, of all things. And he's from Northern California, a place where they've been growing a lot of cannabis for a lot of years. He was giving me kind of the heads up about what's happened this year as opposed to years in the past. And he said that not a lot of people really got hit as much as in years past during the actual growing season. And now that it's harvest time and people are finished harvesting or in the middle of harvesting, now is when they're putting the heat on. And historically, this time of year, you'll find all kinds of checkpoints and roadblocks and extra cops patrolling because there's a lot of weight rolling around. And sure enough, this year, in places where there's been very little law enforcement activity, they're hitting them after it's harvested. And of course, people are stupid and they drive around in big old U-Haul trucks and they don't take precautions and they do things because they either don't know better or believe that this law is going to protect them or believe that somehow, it's just not a big deal anymore. Most of the people we don't ever hear from. Most of the people, get a lawyer and end up taking a plea deal. Most of the people don't have any idea that this could happen when it does and are devastated to the point where they'll just do whatever it takes when they, face their charges or get bailed out. But occasionally somebody decides or realizes that, hey, wait a minute. I didn't do anything wrong here. I didn't do anything that is deserving of being called a criminal. I don't have a criminal history. I've never harmed anybody in a criminal way. And yet I'm being charged with crimes. I'm being charged with felonies for doing something that didn't hurt anybody. And every once in a while, somebody decides to stand up and say, hold on now. This isn't okay. This isn't the way it's supposed to be. There's something wrong about it. And they're either smart enough to figure out the thing that is wrong with their case, and in many cases, law enforcement are a bunch of Abbott and Costello characters, and they don't really take the time to do a good job. They could even be more successful if they took a little extra time. But they hurry up and get warrants, and they hurry up and don't have their probable cause laid out, and they hurry up and do things they're not supposed to do. And if we're smart enough, a lot of times we can catch them in that. And if we're not only smart enough, but we end up in front of a judge that decides they want to recognize these things, we can be successful. Hopefully today, I believe we're going to have a success story that falls along those lines. So I just want everybody to realize that as we're getting started with the show today, that you may be under the impression that your state is legal, or you may be under the impression that signing this petition is going to end things. But I'm here to tell you that in California, Colorado, Washington, places where we've passed recreational, we passed medical a long time ago, the raids keep going. People are busted right and left. They have a hard time storing all the stuff that they catch sometimes. It hasn't changed for real purposes. And the way to tell, and this is really important, if you want to be honest about this and you really want to say, did it really do it? Did it make a difference? Ask yourself this one question. Is there a black market? because if there's a black market, prohibition's still on, because that's the only place black market can exist is in a place where there is prohibition. All right, so we're going to jump into the show. We got a lot going on this week, and we got Janice Davis on the line. I know she's got phone issues, and so just want to let you know that I have spent a lot of time with a lot of people over the last 10 years as I've been on the activist front lines, and very seldom have I met a person, or in this case a couple, Janice and Devin, who are so committed and selfless and inspiring, and just get out there and get it done. And I was fortunate enough to spend some time with them a couple of weeks back, and I've seldom been as impressed as I have. So without further ado, we have Janice from our friendly Manitoba chapter with a little update. Janice, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Good, Joe. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Good to hear your voice again.
Yeah, you too.
So tell me what's going on in Manitoba this week.
Not a lot, I guess. Well, actually, we have some good news with Mike Mailman. He had court last week, so he'll be on a little bit later to tell us about that. And just some past court supporters that we had been supporting, just an update with them with regards to Glenn Price. I've heard that he recently made a deal and he no longer has upcoming court, and also John Tran, who we've been supporting as well, kind of lost contact with his cohorts, and I think he's still in jail, and I think some of his cases involving some fraud, and I guess he lost quite a bit of community support because of, these kinds of things that had been showing up. And other than that, I have two other patients that have just recently contacted me going through some upcoming court battles, and hopefully we'll be helping them gaining support as their cases come up. Other than that, we're planning a chapter meeting probably in November, so I will be posting that sometime in the next few weeks, and hope that anybody interested in being part of the Friendly Manitoba chapter will come down and join our group and listen to what we have on our plate.
That's fantastic, and I would like to offer to you guys, as I've offered before, when chapters are getting together and meeting, I'm glad to join in on a Skype call or a regular call, just to be there if there's questions that need to be answered, or to listen in on the meeting and offer a little bit of 2 cents if that's something that you guys are into. I was really impressed with the group of people that we got together for that little event we did a few weeks back, and I really was. It seemed like we were able to incite some real conversation instead of just, people coming up to party it out and be done. When the work came down, normally people get sidetracked and go wandering off, but we really had an attentive audience, and it really seemed that the people that were in this group meeting really got what prohibition was all about, and that it's so important that we stand together as a community, either as a single organization or a coalition of groups, or the combination. So I'm really excited to see the growth and the continuing momentum that seems to be building out there.
Yeah, that's for sure. I really did see a lot of people move that night, and people were definitely engaged, and that was really nice to see. And I'm really hoping that some of them will come out to this meeting and want to just even kind of listen in and see how they can get involved, or if they can help, or just be part of it. And that would be great to Skype you in. I'll have to figure out how to do that. And also, too, it would be great to have that for people who can't attend, because maybe the facility that we have, it may not be wheelchair accessible. So a way to maybe have them involved from home, if that's possible, would be something I'd be interested in doing as well.
Well, do you have a date for the meeting already?
No, I hadn't picked anything yet. I was going to talk it over with a few other members, and then we were going to decide something for probably mid-November or early November.
Okay. Well, I'll get our team on it too and see what the best way. It might be a Google Hangout, or it might be a Skype, but there's definitely going to be a best way to get a group together to do an online, face-to-face conference call along in the midst of a live meeting. And I think that,
yeah, that would be great.
I think it's important for people to realize, as we're getting this message out and clearer and across a broader audience, that people need to realize that one of the good things about being in 2017 is that there's technology to communicate that's really advanced, and we can communicate anywhere in the world now, and we don't have to be in a face-to-face meeting, although I prefer it when that's not the best option. At least being able to see the people that you're with, it makes a difference, rather than just an empty a voice in an empty place. So I very much look forward to that. And just so you know, I have connected through Facebook with a number of the people that I met up there. So I've got a bunch of new Canadian friends in my little world.
Awesome. Good to hear.
Excellent. All right, Janice. Well, it's a pleasure to get the update from you. And Mike's going to be calling in a little bit later. Is he with you now?
He's not with me right now, but yeah, I'll be listening in for him as well, and look forward to hearing how his day in court went. Excellent.
All right. Well, thank you so much, folks. Again, Janice Davis from our friendly Manitoba chapter. We have Robert Platshorn going to be joining us a little bit later, and we have a lot of people going to be calling in to make updates and share their stories. This has been a very organic show from its inception, and I'm actually without my notes today. I spent a couple of hours collectively putting notes together that I wanted to talk about. And of course, I don't have them, but I'm going to do the best I can with my 4 remaining brain cells. And there's a story that came to me, and it was really troubling. And as Craig Cesal gets on the line, he always talks about, if I was only treated as a violent criminal, I would have been out by now. And this is a story out of where the hell's it out of? Michigan. And there's a guy by the name of Christopher Mirasolo. And a few years back, he got himself a couple of teenage girls, tricked them into coming with him, took their cell phones away, drove them to a place, tied them up, kept them kidnapped for a couple of days, at least raped one of them. I don't know if he raped them both, but ultimately was found guilty of this. And just this week, a judge by the name of Gregory Ross, Judge Gregory S. Ross, from Michigan, Sanilac County Circuit Judge, he granted custody of this kid, joint legal custody. And the mother is now something like 21. I think he ended up doing some years, but he's out. And not only is he free to walk around, but now he's free to see the child that was born out of a violent and horrific act. And the mother of this child was a child herself. She was 12 years old at the time. And now she's like 21 or 22. And it just really shocks me, troubles me, causes a rift in my soul a little bit, because how can we allow these kind of things to happen at the same time that Craig Cesal and so many others are languishing in prison with a life sentence for pot without a victim of any kind. You know, a rape of a child is probably one of the most heinous things that you could even imagine. I could imagine in a situation like that, the person would maybe wish they were dead. I'm not saying that that's what happened or what should happen, but I could see that it could happen, and it probably does happen sometimes. And to have something that's that horrific be brushed under the rug in less than 10 years, and not only restore this person or this individual, I don't want to really call him a person, this individual's rights as a citizen, but to grant some sort of parental rights, I just got to wonder, what's it going to take to get our asses up off the couch? You know, yeah, I know Trump probably did it, but that's not the point. The point is, these are real problems, real things that happen. And, you know, at the same time that this is happening, we got Craig Cesal, we got Cher Christie locked up right now. One of the sweetest people I've ever met in my life. And she's locked up in prison right now over pot. No victim ever. And I just, you know, keep watching the industry grow, and I keep watching legalization happen. I keep watching, you know, laws get passed. And on some level, theoretically, we're making progress. But the truth is, we're still locking people up at an alarming rate, and it just hasn't stopped. And here's Craig Cesal to talk right now and see what he has to say about this.
You will not be charged for this call. Which call is from? Craig Cesal. An inmate at a federal prison. This call is being recorded and is subject to monitoring. Hang up to decline.
Hello, Craig. How are you doing today?
Hello, Joe. I had to leave my beloved Cubs in the ninth inning, but I think they're doomed.
Well,
The series is going to be coming up after tonight.
you know, these things happen, and I guess there's worse problems to have, I guess. But meanwhile, you know, I'm glad to see that this little slot carries enough weight to upset the Cubs for a moment. I actually am. I'm kind of overwhelmed with that, but I'm very grateful that you're here. I was just talking about a case in Michigan where a judge had granted not only the release of a prisoner who had raped a 12-year-old girl, and she had since born a child out of that rape, and the judge granted this guy joint custody with the woman, with the girl that he raped, now as a mother of this child. And, you know, when I heard that story on the radio, I thought of you and your call to action that we're going to be talking about more today. They're not feeding you guys. I mean, and meanwhile, this judge is like, hey, whatever, let this guy go. And, oh, you know, let him have his kid too. The kid that was born because of a violent act, and never mind what the mom or the victim of this violent act thinks or feels about it.
Wow. It's hard to compare violent crimes to marijuana crimes. As you know, marijuana crimes carry a significantly higher sentence. And it's just hard to fathom that that's really what the American people want. Especially with the rise in crime in the last few years, the rise in violent crime.
Well, you know, it's funny. We keep locking people up, and there continues to be violent crime. And I can't help but think maybe it's because we're locking the wrong people up.
Oh, yeah. As you know, my hometown of Chicago, I think the murder rate's at 760-something for the year already. And, but they spend the resources to chase around people with marijuana dispensaries in Colorado and Washington and elsewhere. I don't know. I can't answer.
Well, you know, it's funny too. Doesn't Colorado have one of the, I mean, not Colorado, but Chicago have one of the strictest gun laws of any city in America? Don't they just have horrible restrictions of guns? And this show's not about guns, but it's about freedom in general. And when I think about, the idea of prohibiting something, of making something illegal to force a change, and it just doesn't work.
I agree. And like with the firearms, now I think the issue is not that people have firearms so much, because firearms are like money. They're fungible. I mean, a guy could be a hero in rescuing somebody with a firearm, but that same firearm could be used by that rapist.
Exactly.
The firearms are fungible. It's like $100 bill. Somebody could use a $100 bill to buy heroin, or they could use that $100 bill to help feed the homeless.
Exactly. Or a hammer or a brick. You could build a house with it, or you could clobber somebody over the head with it. It's the things are things, and I wish people could get that. You can't legislate an action through the vehicle of making a thing illegal. It just, people we don't work that way. It's never worked that way, and it's not gonna work. And it's just, it's so frustrating to see so many people that fall into this. And I'm open to discussion on these kind of things on the show, but that's not what the show's about. The show's about the core, about freedom, about common sense, about rights and wrongs, straight up rights and wrongs. And what's wrong about locking somebody up without a victim, what's wrong is that not everybody sees how wrong it is. And the other thing is that not only are you guys being treated like criminals, but now with these actions that you're describing, of cutting off food rations, that's cruel and unusual by any stretch of it. And I didn't get the information until I think it was yesterday or day before, but we're going to be bringing this to the executive call tomorrow morning, and we're going to have a press release out by tomorrow. And we're going to have a call to action. So I anticipate that, as we've done in the past, and been able to get a flood of calls and letters and emails and all the things that we can do, and we've actually seen action happen in the Bureau of Prisons when enough people called for it. And there's even a button on the website that you can file a complaint electronically. And so we're going to make it real easy for people. And my hope is that we get hundreds of responses as we have in the past.
But one thing that I can feel the effects of today is they've removed virtually all the vegetables from our diet. The only vegetable we still get to speak of is black beans. Apparently black beans are very cheap to buy. But they've done away with, things like broccoli, like cauliflower, like, even green beans and, the common vegetables you would eat every day for fiber. They cut out our brand cereal. Now this lack of fiber, this lack of vegetables, it's getting a bunch of us stopped up. They're going to end up spending more in medical expenses for all the people's plumbing that bags out. And, just buying us potatoes and, and carrots and, the kind of roughage that a person should eat.
Well, this is beyond just, I think, cutbacks. It almost seems vindictive. Clearly somebody understands the ramifications of removing vegetables from a person's diet. This isn't the pioneer days where people get scurvy and rickets because they didn't have a good enough diet. We all know how these things happen now. And especially in your case where you've got diabetes to worry about, your diet is even more important than so many people that, don't have any other issues like that.
And with an insulin-dependent diabetic like me, has to have adequate food to stay ahead of the insulin and, just even little snacks, to to, kind of regulate our blood sugar. But none of that is here anymore. Almost every day I have to search for food. We eat in the morning at 6:30, and by 9 o'clock I'm looking for food, and and my sugar is below 70, which is the minimum that your blood sugar should be. And all the diabetics are experiencing the same thing.
And what about commissary? Have they limited commissary too?
Well, they went through with the new warden about 2 months ago, and he cut about a quarter of the items off of the commissary. So a lot of the things that, a lot of things that were actually good for you were removed from the commissary as well. So it's really kind of hard to find something good on the commissary. About the best thing I can find on the commissary is instant oatmeal or Raisin Bran cereal, which is full of sugar.
Well, and I mean, they never really had vegetables on the commissary anyways. That was something that was just a staple anyways, right?
That's true. And I can tell you, up till the last few months, we never had to worry about that. There was always, like a buffet, you could take as much vegetables if you want. There was always, 2 or 3 vegetables served with most meals, or, a piece of fruit with breakfast. And they've taken that out. There's no more buffets. You just get the small servings that are on your tray, which, like I say, this morning consisted of about 3 ounces of oatmeal and 2 things they called pancakes, which were about the size of a silver dollar. They buy them already cooked and all that, and they just, sometimes they'll warm them up a little bit and they throw that with the oatmeal. That's it. That's our breakfast.
Wow. I mean, that sounds as bad as the county food that I put up with when I was locked up. I mean, it's not supposed to be that way. And I just, I'm supposed to be having Robert Platshorn's going to be joining the show today. And he did 30 plus years in federal prison. And George Martorano is supposed to be joining me today too. And he also did over 30 years. And, that was one of the things when they were locked up that, we would always have conversations about, was the health and the lack of medical care and the lack of reasonable food being, you got to wonder, it's not like you got a bunch of violent animals that you're just trying to keep from killing each other in this place that you're at. I mean, it's a lot of nonviolent people, even if it's somebody who committed a real crime with the victim, like not espionage, but like fraud or identity theft or some of the stuff that the feds will crack down on. These are still not violent crimes in the sense of the person that committed it might be a evil son of a bitch, but he's not necessarily a violent person. So you would think that a reasonable, system would say, okay, well, if you keep these people reasonably healthy, they're less likely to have problems and ultimately be cheaper and less effort to maintain charge of.
The sad part is the American public, the American taxpayer is paying for it. Like the medical department here and throughout the Bureau of Prisons, here there's one medical doctor, I believe it's 4 physician assistants, and I think it's something like 9 registered nurses that man the medical department. As a rule, they only see like 6 or 7 people a week. I mean, they just don't get up to work. Could you imagine a doctor's office during the week that, only sees 5 or 7 people per week?
Well, out here, it's the opposite. You're lucky to get 5 minutes of a doctor's time, and you go into a doctor's office and it's packed, and it's just it's a cattle call. They just go in one after another. A typical doctor is overworked. So you'd think, I guess, these prison doctors must have, hit the lottery. You don't have to even work, and you just go hang out and get paid for it.
Well, the problem is when somebody does need to see the doctor, since they see so few people, it's not unusual to wait 2 or 3 months for a fairly, an exam on a fairly serious situation. I've seen people with broken bones wait over a month to be seen.
Whoa. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, you know, even from a point of view where I'm just being a businessman, it makes sense to get medical things treated right away because complications are always more, by their nature, complicated and expensive to fix. Not to mention the mortality rate goes up probably, you know, exponentially.
Oh, yes. And, I mean, now granted, prisons are full of people that are former drug addicts and, you know, and people that haven't taken care of their health. But it's unfortunately we watch so many people die. I mean, it's really kind of sad, you know. One gentleman I go to church with recently died of a lung infection. And he fought with them for months and filed all kinds of paperwork and all that just to get looked at. By the time they finally looked at him, they told him that, you know, he didn't have long to live. It was an infection that he caught here.
Wow. Wow. And, you know, you've told us stories in the past. You had last year about this time, the dental crew was on strike. They weren't even there at all.
No, the dental office, like you say, they showed up for work, but they just closed for 5 months and refused to see anyone, not even one person. And now how can, you know, the taxpayer allow the Bureau of Prisons to get away with that? It's because nobody's mending the door. Nobody's able to come in and look and say, you know, what are these people actually doing?
Well, let me ask you this. You've already had your first beep. There's your second beep. But what could somebody do and be the most effective if they were to be listening right now?
Like I said, get a hold of the BOP.gov website and leave a message there that they're aware of the problem here with us not getting adequate food and adequate vegetables and, you know, adequate anything in terms of our diet. And, or, you know, write letters or send things to their congressman. Ask their congressman to look into.
Well, there he goes. And for everybody who's been listening to the show for a while, this is what happens every single week. Craig gets 15 minutes to call in, and, you know, we get a little bit of time to talk. I sometimes feel bad about even talking, but I like to bring him up to speed with what's going on in our world, in addition to giving him time. But he did send me an outline. He sent me a letter that laid out the conditions with this food crisis, and we're going to put a press release together and a call to action. And we're going to ask you folks to step it up and let's do something about it. You know, Craig calls into the show every week. He puts himself at risk in doing so. He he could get locked up in solitary confinement simply for being on this show. And he does it religiously. Occasionally there's a riot or a fight or some reason the place is locked down, and he doesn't make it on. But most of the time, even in the past when we weren't doing live shows, he called in regularly. But now we are doing live shows. We're doing a live show every week, pretty much come hell or high water, unless it lands on, you know, Christmas or Thanksgiving or something that is traditionally a time that we're all going to be hanging out together and not listening to a cup of joe. I do want to bring a couple things up, waiting for Robert to call in. Hopefully he'll call in time. If not, we'll just have a great show as we're going along. It looks like Tom Korby has some good news to share with us, so we're going to bring him up earlier rather than later today. If you want to call the show, if you're listening on the live stream right now, all I can say is please share this. Let's get the audience to get bigger. The whole point of the Human Solution International is that we're a 501c3 nonprofit charitable organization. We are non-funded, and we're all volunteer. What that means is nobody gives us money except for the handful of donors, memberships, and for the most part, that just pays for keeping the website going, printed materials, and not much else. everything that we've accomplished has been accomplished because of amazing people that have chosen to volunteer their time. And we need more of you, frankly. Today I had 1 out of 3 or 4 screeners that were able to come on. And Mary, I'm grateful you were here today, because we were down to our last hope. It'd be great to have a few more people that were willing to hop on and screen calls when needed. I would love to have some people help put this show together and gather more guests. And we're kind of booked into November now, but it's a constant process, and people come and go. And I think it makes for a better show when we have more people participating. I mean, I can ramble on probably endlessly, but I'm only going to do that for about a half an hour without some accompaniment. And, if we have to do a shorter show, we will. I don't see that happening, as we've been going overtime more often than not. So we're looking for help. We're looking for volunteers. We're looking for people right now to really get our message out that we're here, that if you get in trouble, if you get busted for pot, that you can reach out to us. We're not going to give you a free lawyer. We're not going to hand you a bunch of money, but we do know what's going on. We've been there. We've been through it. We know what you're going through, and we can help. And this show is one of the ways we can help. I keep watching. God, I can't express my frustration enough when I see somebody that we've been helping out or not, and they post something on Facebook, and that's their game. That's it. Post it on Facebook. Come and join us on our thing. And that's it. There are organizations and people that care, that will help you, but you got to include them in it. And whether it's the Human Solution or somebody else, why the hell would you just have it be your own thing when you can get whatever you get? And for people who've been using Facebook, you watch, there's kind of a diminished return. You get excitement for a little while, and you'll get some people to come, but people get polarized, and people get they get calloused, and the idiots on Facebook come out and cause strife and drama, and the good folks leave, and the dramatic people stay. And there's just such a limit to what you can do just by posting something on Facebook. And it takes real people doing real things, and this is a real thing. It's on Facebook, sure, but it's also live on Blog Talk Radio. It's also being captured in other ways. So at the end of the day, it's something that can be shared, and this message that everybody's bringing into this can echo out further and further. So all I can say is this. If you're fighting a case and you want people to help, why don't you reach out to people that are here to help? Why don't you try it? Acknowledge them. Give them a little bit of, hey, I'm working with these people. Those are things that work. We have dozens, hundreds of members of this organization. But what typically happens is at the last second, just before somebody has to go to court, they find God and realize, oh shit, I better ask for help. And then they come knocking on your door and they say, I have to go to court tomorrow. Can you help me? And the answer is, well, we'll do what we can. And at the last second, we do what we can. But what if we treated this like it was important? What if we treated this like it was the most important thing in the world right now? Because whoever's facing losing their freedom, it should be. Even if it's not, it should be. And what if in treating this as it was the most important thing in the world, we decided to be effective? We decided to use all the tools at our disposal, including Facebook, but also including other mediums, other getting on radio shows, going and participating in other groups' meetings, and aligning yourself and acknowledging other groups. Those are things that can work. Those are things that can make a difference. And that's where the coalition comes into play. That's where membership and being part of a group comes into play. You know, there's a lot of lone wolf activists out there, and I just watch over and over and over again campaigns that could be better. And I have seen what the Human Solution has been able to do. I have seen the support that we've been able to muster, not every time, because again, a lot of the times that we get brought into it are last minute, you know, 0 hour, 3 and 2, bottom of the ninth. Oh, wait, let's call the Human Solution. And we do what we can. But those that actually get it and engage us from the beginning and become part of this, I have watched over and over again, success after success. I can't urge you enough to wake up and decide that, wow, maybe I should look into it. Maybe I should decide to be part of something that has historically worked. I hate talking about fundraising because I just don't like it. But the truth is, like any other organization, we need to raise enough money to exist, and our membership is helpful. We've got some other fundraising ideas, and one of them is a new thing that we figured out called Amazon Smile. A lot of people are now ordering stuff online. Amazon is, you know, bigger and bigger. I think they just bought Whole Foods or one of those organic places. People can order their groceries. They can order everything, and they're ordering stuff through Amazon right and left. There's a thing called Amazon Smile, and if rather than going to Amazon.com, you go to smile.amazon.com, you can log in through your regular Amazon account and access Smile, which is kind of a little, I don't know, it's a little charity arm of Amazon. And they say, well, you can select any charity in our list, and if you buy from this little site, we'll donate some little piece of what you're paying to this charity. Well, guess what? The Human Solution International now has an Amazon Smile page. And so you can go on to Amazon or smile.amazon.com, and you can choose the Human Solution International as your charity. Go buy what you were normally going to buy and spend the same amount as you normally would have spent, and some little piece of that's going to get donated 4 times a year to this organization. So one of the things that we decided and I want to do, as we're truly a 501c3 nonprofit, totally transparent organization, all volunteer. I think it's important that the membership has a vote when it comes to what are we doing with our things. When we do raise money, how do you want to spend it? And so I'm going to be putting forward an opportunity for people to contribute their suggestions. This is your money to spend on our mission. So how do you want it spent? And we will, as we go through the Amazon Smile thing, the first cycle I think is in November. It'll probably be somewhat smaller, but if it is of any substance and we have something to spend, we're going to determine through kind of an open forum, what do we want to spend it on? And how do we want to use it to get our message out there? And how do we want to grow our organization and get closer to our mission of ending cannabis prohibition? So that's coming up next. Finally, before we get to some callers, we have a ribbon photo contest, and right now, I don't know if I can get to it fast enough, but right now we have 4 contestants, and in order to participate in this contest, all you have to do is take a picture, find a picture. You don't have to have taken the picture. You can go find a picture and submit it and say, I really think this picture is great. As long as the photographer doesn't have a problem with it, you can submit it and say, this is my entry, and here's why I think it should win. Now, we've been saying this now for, I don't know, 5-6 weeks we've been doing this contest. And I have yet to get a contestant that has submitted their entry that told us why it should win. We've only had a handful of contestants, and frankly, you can only win once until there's nobody else that's a contestant that hasn't won. If we get to a point where everybody that enters has already won before, you get a chance to win again. The prizes we're starting to get some donations of prizes. This week we got some books donated, and we have a copy of Jack Hare's The Emperor Wears No Clothes that's signed by Jack Hare before he died. So that's going to be the prize for today. And I think I have it to show somewhere. But so anyways, we have until, 10 minutes before the end of the show. As it is right now, Albert Thomas is in the lead by 1 vote. And Chuck Miller is second with 1 vote less. And Jessica Lux is up behind that. So all you got to do is go on to that Human Solution Group page and cast your vote. And probably 10 minutes before the show's over, we're going to go ahead and announce the winner. And again, this is a signed copy of The Emperor Wears No Clothes. I think it's the coloring book. I don't think it's the original book. But anyways, it's a signed copy, and it's a great prize. Here it is right here. Yes. And yeah, it's the official coloring book. So that being said, excuse me, I don't have a cough button, but if somebody wants to spring for one, I will use it. We're going to go ahead and bring up Tom Korby now. He says he's got some good news to report. So let's go ahead and see what's going on in Tom Korbyville. Tom, welcome to the show. You're going to get an early update today.
Okay, thank you, Joe, Mary.
Please, Tom, please hold the phone up close to your mouth and speak loudly if you can. Last couple of times it's been kind of hard to hear.
There I was waving my phone around again. Anyway, so when we talk about Butte County and Northern California, we continue to set precedent. And these 2 defendants have been talking about how weak their cases are. And all of them I've given 2-to-1 odds that their case will be dismissed. If, like we always talk, all defendants take them on to trial, they could never do it. This is what I've been talking about Frank Tanan. Joe's met Frank with Bob Jared. He had this GOI misdemeanor PS charge. Took him on. He had his case dismissed today.
All right.
Thank you. All right. So he had, he's so grateful for the application. That's such a huge word. Also, we always talk about how important discovery is. And then when I met him, with Bob Jared, he had most of the discovery already. And plus, insist that your PE or your attorney get all the discovery. Otherwise, how can you win your case if you don't know exactly what you're up against? So Frank's on the road. He's going to try to come in and talk and share. What he did is, Joe, I'm kind of a little out of breath. It is harvest time, and we are really busy. I've got like 10 guys out here helping me out here with it. So, and Toby Williams and all his crew are here. When I talk about Toby again, when we got busted, I got out of jail. He came for us. Had that big white pad, big words, discovery. So, don't forget to breathe. So we have on the calendar what Bill talked about. Facebook's okay too. if we can, it's so simple now that the calendar, if you can post to the Human Solution International .org calendar, then we can help usher court support, especially always local court support. And Joe said even sometimes just a handful of people make all the difference in the world through the family. So I see that. The best we work hard today. Coming up this Friday, again, I've been talking about Ray Sharp. Got his motion for filing for new counsel this Friday. That's 10:30 a.m. and that's actually in Chico, California, as a civil 1775 Conquer Street in Chico. Local court support is always requested, and Ray's so thankful also for the application and support with the Human Solution International. Therefore, now that Frank Canan had his case dismissed today, he's on the calendar, Joe. Maybe you could, I don't know how to take it off, coming up here this Monday, 1:30. Well, maybe you can get that on the calendar. I know we can't.
I will talk to Becca. She's managing the calendar right now, but I will talk to her and make sure that we get that handled.
Right, and then I have a new case. One of our friends, a long-time good friend, just use the first name real well for now. He was coming out of the Grass Valley, which is Nevada County. We're in Butte County, and got pulled over. Had six plants, had 12 plants, and there were two of them. Both had their scripts. The highway patrol, the police, real else right here today. He's thankful also for the advocacy and some legal direction. Ways take them on. Never make any kind of plea deals. Just out of breath. Cut to the chase. He actually cuffed him, put him in the back seat. They in the back seat, and it was. I think that once they realized that and these plants were just small plants too, maybe pound plants, they realized that they were overstepping their bounds. They actually let them go. They charged them with a. It's not an infraction, actually. It's just a misdemeanor traffic fine, $500. Is that right, Roel? Oh, go ahead. Yeah. It's a misdemeanor transportation. No, that's right. Misdemeanor transportation. Of course, under AUMA, we know that transportation is not covered. But the way I understand it, AUMA, Chris Conrad said, doesn't even go into effect till November of this year. So we're already working this case because it's Nevada County. By the way, Stefana Femino, or one of our top attorneys here, Butte County, the one Dallas Lions case, actually took on Frank Canan's case here about a week ago, and we can thank Stefana once again for having his case dismissed.
Now, have you heard? I just talked to somebody who's up your way, and have you heard about the highway patrol and sheriffs and even Fish and Game really stepping up their patrols right now and pulling over, U-Haul trucks and what they would consider to be suspicious vehicles?
Well, and here's one of the things we always do. We come with probable cause, and so what the police said is that they pulled him over because one of his back lights was flickering or something with the brake. So after they're all done, they said, "Oh, your light just seemed to be okay." So just another real weak case. I'm giving it a 2-to-1 odds, like I gave Frank and all of them, that this case is going away, and he's going to take them on. He's actually hired, if you remember, Jennifer Walters up in Nevada City there, and Grass Valley. She's a good attorney, so Roel's coming strong, got to take them on. And we always say, if you take them on the trail, they just can't do that. I'm just out of breath. All right. You bring me in early, Joe.
I know. I pulled a fast one on you, but I since you got on the line, I got 3 callers that want to talk. So I wanted to make sure you had plenty of time. I've got now George Martorano is on the line, and he's going to be doing like a little tease. We're going to do an in-depth interview with George in a couple of weeks. We got Bobby Rodrigo, who's calling from the front lines of the hurricane disaster relief. And we got Pete Yeaple from New York now, and he's going to be helping us build a chapter up there, it looks like. And, it's things are building right now. So, Tom, I'm going to let you go. If you decide you got something that you want to say at the end of the show, just pop back in and let us know.
I just might do that, Joe. I want to thank you. Now, this is because we're winding down. All the growers and farmers cultivating now. We're getting ready to have a harvest fest, probably middle to end November, and we're going to try. We're already working on getting you up here, and the room's open upstairs.
That sounds good.
Good night, Joe.
All right, I look forward to it.
Love you, Tom.
Get to breathe.
All right. Okay, so it looks like I got George Martorano, and he keeps trying to FaceTime. So I'm going to go ahead and try to FaceTime him. And I don't know if this is going to work or not, but let's see what happens here. Oh, shoot. I think I just killed the show. Hold on here. Oh, this is hilarious. Well, we're doing the live stream, and so you can see, trying to get a hold of George Martorano and call the show back in. All right, this is a level of professionalism. Okay, we're reconnected here. All right, sorry about that, folks. I am not going to insult the people that have brain damage by referring to myself as one of them. I'm going to bring up George real quick, and Bobby, hopefully you can stay on the line, and then Pete, I know you can stay on the line. George, welcome to the show. I see you've been popping in and out, trying to FaceTime. How are you doing today?
All right, good buddy. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's good to hear your voice. We just lost you. Crap. Okay, well, I'm not going to hang up this time. Hopefully, we can get him to do the FaceTime thing again. Here we go. Let's just see how this goes real quick. All right, I'm going to bring Bobby up while we're figuring this out. And we can not have these pregnant pauses. Bobby, you're live on the air. Welcome to the show.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Oh, well, aside from just a little bit of technical glitches, everything's going good over here.
Well, that's good. I've been finding it rather interesting, and it would have been nice if it would happen in some other areas. Maybe would have saved some time, but it seems like there's a number of politicians in this area down here that now have me on speed dial. I'm not exactly sure how to take that.
Well, what seems to happen is as you become capable, you become important, not just to the people that you're helping, but these elected officials come to realize that there's something real there that they might have to answer to.
Imagine that.
Imagine that.
It's interesting because I've been sitting here just. I mean, everybody knows who we are. Listens to our shows and what we're about, and how we try to, spread the good word and work with great organizations and help organizations and have our organizations help us and all that stuff. We all know that's going on. But what's interesting is in this circumstance, I mean, number one, the fact that I'm here with We Do Better is incidental because We Do Better is not a disaster relief organization. It's an organization that wants to highlight the public benefits of nonprofits and how they deliver public benefit services better than the government does, among other things. And here I am, the COO of We Do Better is me, and I go to this disaster relief stuff, and I'm living our model, which is one of the things that gets me through the day in some of this crap. But what has happened is, a lot of us have done this for a long time, and then we keep finding each other, and our world is changing in the sense of connections with the internet and stuff like that, and it's becoming easier to find each other, and we're running into the same problems over and over and over and over again. Like one of our conversations is about Haiti. Like a lot of the comparisons of what's going on with Puerto Rico and the islands, particularly Puerto Rico, is the comparison with Haiti. This situation here is even more unique in that, they're taking advantage of the fact, I guess that's the way to put it, taking advantage. Well, the problems are being amplified by the fact that I can't just get in a car and drive to Puerto Rico or the U.S. Virgin Islands. I have to use the water.
The big ocean, right?
The approach to Puerto Rico has been to lock us down. We have politicians that are saying things are good. We have politicians that are saying things are bad. And then, of course, all the rest of us are just trying to get the aid to the people. But, what is interesting is even if you stay out of the politics, which I do in this circumstances, I'll work with anybody, and as long as we get any aid. But you have government, literally creating a bureaucratic mess to get aid to essentially the same thing as St. Louis, except it has an ocean around it. And I've been trying to describe the situation and eliminating the United States and Puerto Rico, because Puerto Rico is the United States, just like St. Louis is, just like Texas is, just like New York is, or just like Florida is, where I am. So I've been trying. It's just like with the Hawaii thing, it's the mainland and then it's the island. And that needs to happen because what's going on in Puerto Rico is really, really bad from the standpoint of bureaucratic. So I want you to know, everybody, this is gospel. I'll post the letter or the email on Facebook. I don't care, whatever, because of course we all believe what's on the internet. And I got an email from Senator Bill Nelson's office, his chief of staff, Michelle McGovern, and it was in response to a phone call that I made, and we talked for a long time, and it was about the interference that FEMA was doing in one of the airports. And so FEMA has a process for people to get humanitarian aid to Puerto Rico. And I want you to think about that just for a minute. Just the fact that there is a process to get humanitarian aid anywhere, for that matter, but a process to get humanitarian aid to Puerto Rico. Now, we all ship stuff. We all use FedEx. You all use UPS. Some people know a little bit more about it. They want to ship a crate or a car or something, or they use ships. There are procedures that have to be done. We all know that. But FEMA has this policy of requirements that has to be done. And so this is what you must do in order to get humanitarian aid to Puerto Rico. And it's a list of 5 things. And the first thing on the list, numero uno, somebody must have been just like lost when they did this. The numero uno, the reason that you're getting humanitarian aid to Puerto Rico, that the thing that they want to know is the purpose of the aid. The purpose.
Oh my God.
It
And there's
from FEMA to the United States Senator.
wow.
I don't know where to go with that.
Yeah.
Didn't know where I got this email a week ago Saturday. So I have been fermenting this thing since then. And I send it to people, I talk about it, Eleanor Goldfield, we had a nice little chat about it, I was running around, she says, God, can I interview you, share, whatever, come on, let's go, let's talk about it. We had a good chunk, and I sent it to her, I said, check it out. So this is not what FEMA's telling me, this is what FEMA's telling a United States Senator who asked. So, think about that, guy. I have an aunt in Puerto Rico, I have an uncle, I have a friend, I have a cat. Whatever.
Yeah, who cares?
I go to Puerto Rico. I got a million pounds of aid.
Right.
I want to go take it to my relative friend, my animal, knock on the door and hand it to him. I can't do that unless I tell FEMA what the purpose of my aid is.
Wow.
This is your government at work, everybody. This
It's
is your government
food. What do you
work.
think it's for? Sheesh.
I don't know. Who fucking puts that on paper? Who thinks that way? I mean, think about that. Think about the absurdity of that statement.
Well, this is the whole big government. You just gotta love it, right? It's
Oh yeah. Yeah. And mind you, and we can get into the Trump's this and Obama's that and Slick Willie's this and
right.
And all that.
No, this is the institution. Yeah. Nothing changed.
Had this policy.
Right. It's probably been the same for 30 years.
Exactly. I mean, well, obviously Puerto Rico had an event like it had this time, but yes, exactly.
The whole
when we got
bureaucracy of this, which is it's a significant problem. It's a problem in the Bureau of Prisons. It's a problem with FEMA. It's a problem with anything that actually helps people, which is what the proponents of big government say it's all about, is helping the people that need it, right? We got to help the poor people, got to help the people that need it. The government is the only one that can do that correctly. Well, this is how they do it. And I don't know. I don't see a lot of correctly in this.
Well, numbers 3 and 4, I agree with. Not. Well, I shouldn't say I agree with. I say that it's normal shipping stuff. Because when you ship stuff, a guy shipped 100,000 pounds yesterday.
That's a lot of pounds.
On a lot of pounds. 767. 10 o'clock. 10 minutes to 10. I'm on my way to an open forum panel with Governor Scott. Because obviously I must be an expert because I've been doing this every day of my life.
Sure.
It's moronic that I'm even involved in that. If you think about this in the big picture, I don't do this for a living. It's moronic that I'm going to be brought to this thing, in my opinion. Now, it's not moronic that I'm going to say, I'm certainly going to say something that is worth saying, but there's a million other people that do this every single day that know more about this than I do. And I'm invited to this open forum. I'm having my 15 minutes and all the other crap. And on my way down there, I get a call. We got an empty plane that needs 100,000 pounds of stuff. Do you want to load it? You're damn right I do. Turn around and go. The plane that was bought to do this with by Carmelo Anthony, the NBA basketball player, as it turns out. He tweets on the thing last night that it was Feed the Children that did it. Well, Feed the Children didn't show up, and that's why I was putting stuff on this plane.
Oh, geez.
I have to correct that, Carmelo.
Don't you love that?
Anyway, whatever. So,
yeah.
I know, he doesn't know. He's got handlers. He doesn't know. They're telling us, let's do this, Carmelo, and you got a tax write-off. And I'm not saying Carmelo isn't doing the right thing. Don't get me wrong. I don't know the man.
Right.
I think he might, I don't know. But what I'm saying is that he doesn't know that Feed the Children didn't show up. All he knows is that his flight didn't take off at 10 o'clock because the stuff wasn't there.
Right.
And here I come with truck, and pull it up. But I'm saying that because getting back to what we're saying about FEMA, you have shipping things they got to do. We pull the truck up to the back of the thing, and it takes the pallets off, it puts it on a freight scale, weighs it, tags it, sends it to the plane. Happens all the time. Bingo. So what happens on the other end is the plane lands, somebody goes to the airport, picks up what their stuff is. Well, that's not what happens in Puerto Rico during the humanitarian aid crisis. Because let me tell you what number 5 says. Number 5. Step on down, everybody, to number 5, and it says, hey, just thought I mentioned that in order for you to get aid, you also have to have contact and the permission and working with a local municipality. And let's
And so if you don't happen,
let's put another layer.
if you're just a charitable organization that received a bunch of donations and has the means to bring these donations to the people that need it, if you're not specifically intimately connected with somebody that's making things happen over there, you can't just show up and say, hey, I have 100,000 pounds of food. What can I do? You don't get that. You don't get that option.
Thank you.
Wow.
You don't get that option according to what FEMA says.
Wow.
Now, I had a conversation. You'll love this. Yeah, you think? So, it's like, right. I'm living in this space, everybody. I'm living in this space. So I just yesterday morning, I get put Pastor Todd. I'll call him Pastor Todd. He's on the ground in Puerto Rico. He's a pastor that is part of a coalition of 200, 400 churches, whatever it is. Boots on the ground. Get him aid. He can get it out to the community. I'll give my stuff to FEMA to take it out to the community. So, yeah, I'm going to help everybody. So him and I talk a lot. We interact a lot, trying to make sure that I've already sent him some stuff, small loads. I haven't been able to get a big load from him yet, but I talked to him, and he put me in touch back-to-back with two different people in the government. So the first day, 2 days ago, he puts me in touch with the gentleman who is in charge of the faith-based nonprofit division of the government. This is the government of Puerto Rico. So he wants, he says, send me your stuff so we can have the nonprofits on. We can do point to point. We got nonprofits on one side, we got nonprofits on the other side. Okay, great. But this is the important part. He tells me that he did a test shipment. That's his words, not mine. Test shipment through the port of San Juan. You know, the port that's in the country, or in the Commonwealth. I'm sorry, in the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, the one that he is in the government of. He did a test to see if it would get through from FEMA, and he got two deliveries through. Now just think about that. So how the hell am I supposed to get it through? So then let's go to the next phase. So yesterday, I have a call with the Undersecretary of State for Foreign Affairs for the Puerto Rican government. Okay? Now, the conversation starts.
Hey, Bobby, can I keep you on the line for a second? I got George Martorano, who has been flickering in and out of here, but I want to bring him on. I'm going to keep you live while George is on. George, you are live again. I don't know, you're having a little bit of phone issues, but hopefully you'll be able to stick on for a couple of minutes. I've got Bobby Rodrigo is also live on the air, and he's been doing a bunch of humanitarian work for the hurricane efforts in Houston and Florida, now in Puerto Rico. Can you hear me okay?
Hi, Bob. Hi, Bob. Hi, Joe. Thank you for what you're doing out there, Bob. But you know what I haven't heard at all from anyone is 29 territorial prisoners in Puerto Rico. With 8,000 prisoners. Not a word. Not a word.
I can give you an update on that. They at least the one that's up by Aguadilla, they initially, okay, so let me think about this for a second, because we did sit rep all the way through there, and initially everything was okay initially from the standpoint of generators. Remember, they have to have generators, and obviously that's a surprise situation. Right. But they have had food and water brought to them, but of course, and that one, I can't tell you about all of them, as I don't know enough about that. And I haven't gotten our Allison Thompson, who's our lead, and then HARP, which is the Humanitarian Aid and Relief Project. They were our leads out there, and I know that they have. And then we talked to the mayors and stuff like that. But I know that when the power went down, and then there was a collapse. Part of just so you know, everybody, we had a mudslide 3 days ago. I think 3 days ago on Highway 110 at kilometer marker 5.9 by Las Marias. So we're still dealing with them because they're having their afternoon monsoons every day, but of course it's nothing stable. But anyway, back to the prison thing. So part of it fell apart, and obviously they're coming out as strong, but there hasn't been any trouble reported. Matter of fact, most trouble that's been reported is bullshit. People are desperate.
bottled water, non-perishables, and saying, good luck. I've been through that as a prisoner, so I know. And I counsel prisoners that were left in the New Orleans Parish County Jail there, left to die. So I worked with the prison staff as a prisoner with that. So I was just wondering, because on the news I haven't heard anything about what relief. Now, again, I always say this in a lot of my films, prison is meant for some people, but not for all. So we know that, but they're still human beings. So I was wondering, I'm happy to hear from you that there's something was done for them.
Well, George, when the hurricane was going through Texas and then going through Florida, we were getting some updates from people that were in contact with some of the prisoners, and in some cases it was really bad, and in other cases people were getting moved, or the prison was in a place where it wasn't directly affected so bad. But we've been trying to maintain our connection. When a natural disaster happens, people don't think about it. Right now, Northern California is burning, and there's a number of prisons up in Northern California, and if a fire comes ripping through a place like that, what do you do? And I don't think they have a good plan.
Well, in reality, the free American citizen comes first, and the prisoner becomes last. And that's the case. Like I said, I lived through it. I understand it, but I'm always concerned about it. And I'm just happy there's people like us who are concerned about it, because sometimes the proper inquiry at the proper level, can get assistance to these prisons. So.
No, it's absolutely true. Earlier in the show, Craig Cesal was calling from Terre Haute, Indiana, where he's serving a life term. And we've been working with him just as we were working with you when you were locked up, in hopes of getting him out. But they're shutting the food down up there. They're not giving the inmates proper rations. They cut out fruits and vegetables. We're going to be putting a press out probably tomorrow with a call to action about this, because Craig's a insulin-dependent diabetic, and if you don't get the right amount of food in the right way, it can be fatal.
Yeah, I know. With this administration, I haven't heard anything about prison reform, anything at all. It's just, we're living in times that I believe that it's going to be much more difficult. I do a lot of one-on-one advocate work for guys who are trying to come home, and I give them the best advice they can. But it's a step-by-step situation, especially with guys with life sentences, and a step-by-step situation could take 30 years of your life, like mine, almost 33. So,
well, George, real quick, I have a fairly broad audience, and that's growing. And not everybody, hopefully we get new callers every week, and not everybody knows about your story. A couple of years back, our prison outreach was really strong, and we were really in contact with a lot of inmates, and you were somebody who became personal friends with with myself and my family, and a number of our people that were doing outreach, and you found your way free out of a life sentence. But if you could give a brief introduction, and then you and I are going to do an in-depth interview in a few weeks, and we're going to be able to take on a lot of more complicated conversation and dig into a lot of deeper subjects. But I just really wanted to be able to introduce you as a guest, and introduce you to the audience, and welcome you. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person, and it's been such a treat to watch you unfold as you've been free now for a little more than a year. But anyways, I just wanted to give you a chance to introduce yourself.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Bob there with Joe. I'm George Martorano. I was the longest nonviolent first offender ever to serve time in America for cannabis. Never even had a parking ticket. My basic guidelines at the time was 48 to 52 months. And when I got sentenced, I did 5 years in solitary, and then went on to languish in many federal institutions, the worst, North America. But I reached out through positive stuff. I took the hate out of myself and understand that the only way to get out is through intelligence and help with community connections. And one of the main helps was Joe and his organization, Human Solutions. They did a great job for me, and I'll never forget that. So, and I look forward to doing more on the show, and look forward to we have to keep the voices going to help others. We must do that. That's imperative.
Fantastic. All right, George. Well, I appreciate you taking time to call in, and I'm looking forward in the next. I'll get confirmation on that date in the next day or two. But
I'll see you guys. Be safe with all the fires out there. Be safe. Thank you.
You bet.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks, George. Again, George Martorano. He's calling from Pennsylvania, and George is an incredible individual. George is somebody who, if you get from even just the tone of his conversation, he's always been a very positive person. And when he was locked up, and he'd been locked up for, almost 30 years when I met him, we started corresponding through Coralinks and writing letters and then, phone calls. And he was a prolific writer. He would write these little, he's written books, but he's also written a lot of short stories and poems and all sorts of things. And there was always an elegance and an eloquence to his words. He always had dignity, and like he said, he got the hate out of him. He always focused his energy on positive things. And when you listen to Craig Cesal talk, same thing. There's a something special about a person who doesn't get beaten by a horrific, heinous situation like being locked up for a nonviolent action. Even if you did it, and even if you broke the law, it doesn't matter. All right, Bobby, I'll let you finish up your thought, and then I've got Mike Mailman from Manitoba, Canada, who has some good news to share with us. I want to get him before time ticks away. I know it's expensive for him sitting on the line.
Yeah, and what he was talking about was good stuff. I don't even know where I left off. I've been sitting here tweeting with Bethany Frankel, the reality star. I'm telling you, the people, I was on a Today Show the other day, allegedly. I have no clue about it, if they did my part or not. But, so back to, the politicians. Yeah, so today, that's where I left off, with the Undersecretary of State for Foreign Affairs. Listen to that, Undersecretary of State of Foreign Affairs. I'm talking to this person. And he starts the conversation off, and he says, I need to understand, so I've talked to them, and I know that there's a whole bunch of procedures, so I want to make sure that we implement those procedures properly so we know what we're doing. And I'm like, you are the government, right? I said, this is your state, right, or Commonwealth. I said, so we're starting the conversation right there, sir, concerns me, basically. I said, I'm telling you that there is too much bureaucracy between me being able to bring aid to anybody I want. And, you mentioned earlier about nonprofits. It shouldn't even be that. It should be about the private citizen being able to do this.
Anybody.
It shouldn't have to even be a nonprofit, but doing it as a nonprofit is what usually happens. And, they love to try and give you, the Red Cross and United Way. Well, I'm sorry, folks. I've been out since Harvey, as everybody knows, and the Red Cross is not happening. Okay, they Red Cross International, dynamite. Red Cross American, kiss my ass. I got nothing for you. I wouldn't care if 100,000 people called this show right now and said, no, I had a good experience with Red Cross. I can bring out 1 million that'll say, and that's just you guys. So you shouldn't take anything like that to get stuff to your citizens, to your fellow citizens, to your fellow humans. Forget citizens. But this is worse because it's in our borders. Like I said, it's basically St. Louis. or Chicago or Phoenix or Amarillo, Texas, whatever city you want to come up with. That's where Puerto Rico is. It's part of our country. And I shouldn't have to do any of this to do that. So I'm talking to this guy, and he's telling me about this, and he's telling me how well they do it this way. And I'm like, why? So he tells me to send him a letter to a very blunt, to be very as blunt as you want, and I'm going to run up the flagpole. Well, I go to send him the letter, and I get a 911 call that I need to put 100,000 pounds on the plane. So I write the letter, go to the political thing, send aid. So what did I do? I sent aid. Screw all the politicians and go. But then today, at 11 o'clock this morning, I get a call from 4 state legislators sitting in a room with the International Longshoremen of Florida, and they want me to tell them what the problems are and what my suggestions are to fix it. Now think about that. Who the hell am I? Number one. Number two, listen, I obviously told them what I said. I knew what I was talking about, but what the hell's that got to do with it? I don't do this for a living, and yet they're calling me because, I guess the optics are good because I'm getting a little press. I'm having my 5 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever the hell it is. And NBC comes and see me, and I show them this wonderful
They
solar
caught wind of
generator.
something working.
That if it was in Puerto Rico right now, it would be powering 20,000 homes right now. 20,000.
Wow.
The solar generator that I'm looking at the solar generator right now because I can't get this thing in Puerto Rico without having FEMA wanting to touch it.
Wow.
Listen to this. The technical team that installs this is on the ground waiting for it right now. I have that, and I have 17 pallets of solar panels right in front of me.
Wow. Wow.
And that's what NBC was interviewing me about on Sunday. It's now Wednesday. I still have the generator.
Wow.
Just saying. So people, we got a lot of work to do, and it's and thankfully they're not thinking about cannabis right now. But anyway.
Well, Bobby, let me ask you this.
For the evening.
One thing I just really always try to impart: what can somebody do to be effective, to help out in a real way? I mean, I know that you had passed around a video, and in that video it had a place to help. I made a donation to that. I didn't even get a response back. I'm hoping they got it and they're happy with it. But the point is what can somebody really do? I mean, what if somebody wanted to come out there and help? Can they do it? If we've got some locals or somebody that just feels inspired.
Absolutely, you guys. Volunteering your time is fantastic. Collecting supplies and getting them to me are fantastic. Sending money is fantastic. WeDoBetter.org. We just put up a GoFundMe page so we can start paying for planes ourselves. Because no matter all the free planes that we had, like Carmelo Anthony paid $84,000 for his plane.
Wow.
So somebody's donating something.
Right.
So it's not like somebody pulls up with a free plane. We're getting a free plane, but certainly not free.
No.
Somebody's doing this. And we've been sending stuff on planes all the time. So anything, money, time, and all of it is equally valuable. If you volunteer your time, that is just as important as if you give me $100,000. I'm serious about that.
I couldn't agree more.
We need everything. I mean, I'm running a shipping operation here with millions of pounds of stuff. That has to be palletized and it has to be manifest, and then it has to be put in trucks and shipped. I mean, it's a shipping operation. So so yes. When I'm not being facetious, when I say what I said, and same thing with you bringing supplies. All donations are welcome, and do what you can, when you can, how you can, spread the word, and then, of course, you can always pound your politicians, and you can start with the knuckleheads in Puerto Rico, and you can start with the knuckleheads in Washington, and work your way down from there.
Excellent.
I mean, that's pretty much what we got going on.
Well, Bobby, as always, I've been stalking you for the last week to get you to come out and give us this update. So I'm glad you didn't shy away from my incessant stalking. And I'm glad you gave us this update. And I'm especially glad you're out there doing what you're doing. And I just want to use this forum to hopefully inspire one more person to do one more thing. And that's what it's always been about.
Excellent. You guys have a great night. Always great to stop by, Joe.
All right, Bobby. Once again, folks, Bobby Rodrigo from We Do Better and the Coffee Party and so many other things. If I was to put his resume up here, it would take the whole page. Anyway, speaking of the Coffee Party, I want to thank the Coffee Party and the Coffee Party Radio Network for giving this show a place to be. And if you want to call in, if you're listening on the Facebook live feed thing, and you want to call in, have something to say, you just got to pick up the phone and dial 646-929-2495. And you can speak with our amazing screener, Non-Compliant Mary, who has amazing stories all by herself. All right, we got Mike Mailman coming up. And, you know, I'm not even going to take any time introducing you. I'm going to just bring you up. Now, Mike, you're live on the air. I met Mike in person a couple of weeks back when I went and visited Manitoba, and I just, you know, to watch somebody with the warrior spirit. People that are listening to this show, please understand, every single person that decides they're going to fight their case is inherently a warrior. And I know people get hung up on the warrior nation and the warrior this and the warrior that, but the truth is, to stand up against a beast that has endless heads and endless weapons and endless money and endless resources and doesn't give a damn about you, and for us to stand up and say, whoa, hold on now. We've got this armor of the law that's supposed to protect us if we happen to understand it enough to use it and know how to wield it and you know, deflect with it. Well, Mike got hit with a case, and turned out, not only did he have the warrior spirit, he was willing to stand together. Fortunately, he had the support of our local Friendly Manitoba chapter, but when it all came down to it, his case was in a remote place from where they are at, and he walked into battle with nothing but him and his ribbon, and knowing that there were folks standing behind us. Why don't you take it from there, Mike? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Joe. It really was an interesting experience. A lot of heavy heart along the way, that's for sure, but it was great having people behind me. So essentially what happened, I went into court, and you know, all along I'd been asking the Crown attorneys and the defense attorneys and anyone I could ask, what happened to the video that I reported of the officers when they arrested me. And everybody told me that it didn't exist, and, you know, forget about it, basically. And so halfway through the voir dire, we took a break. The officer had already given his statements, and the Crown and the defense had already asked all the questions, and my lawyer asked for a 5-minute recess to talk to me in the back room. He said, you know, Mike, do you find anything we're missing here? And I said, well, other than the fact that the officer's lying on the stand and
little thing like that,
and all those boxes that we're talking about, they put the camera. Well, my lawyer said, "What do you mean a camera?" I guess he's the only person I haven't asked yet. So he asked the judge, and the judge decided we should play the video. Turns out the video shows a little bit different account of events than what the officer had just stated happened on the stand.
Imagine that.
In fact, the judge didn't really appreciate that too much. And he found the arrest to be unlawful, and we never even went any further than that.
Wow.
They found state charges, and the judge looked at the Crown and said, good choice.
Nice.
And that was the end of my case.
Now let me ask you this.
After 3.5 years.
If you wouldn't have done this, your lawyer wouldn't have done this for you. What do you think the outcome would have been had you not thought to do it or known to do it or been inclined to do it, and you were to continue down the road without this video ever having a chance to be entered or seen? How do you think this thing would have played out?
Well, in my case, I actually had a lot of different angles of defense, actually. The cannabis that I had was, in fact, reasonably entitled for me to have it. And the whole situation, without getting too much into it, there were a lot of other reasons that the judge should have thrown the case out as well. This was just the first. This was the first thing he was looking at, and he threw it out immediately. So, while I do think that that video was instrumental, and it was really nice to finally be able to show that right off the bat that the officer was lying and wrong right from the beginning, and not even get into all the rest of it was well, if nothing else, it saved me months and months more of trouble, and who knows how much more money and time.
Now, were you offered a plea deal initially?
Oh, they offered me plea deals all the way along. They tried giving me different plea deals along the way.
So I guess that's kind of where I'm coming to,
right.
Is most people, and I mean, when I say most people, I mean more than 90%. It's actually closer to 95, 97% of people will take that first plea deal that comes along because they don't have the heart to stand in and keep coming back to court. And they don't have the heart to take a day off of work or to take a day off of their life or to go through the grief of going to court. It doesn't matter whether, even if it works in your favor, ultimately it's a lot of grief to get there. And that's really kind of what I was getting at, is the fact that you were, righteously indignant. You knew you didn't deserve to be in a situation that would render you a criminal, and you stood up and said, no, let's at least go to battle over this. And I think that's kind of, what I'm trying to bring to light, is that when you do that, you have a chance to win. When you don't do that, you don't even have a chance. Now, granted, most people, the odds are stacked against you, 1,000 to 1 by taking it to trial. It's just the way it is. Doesn't matter what country you're in. It's never going to be fair, but you don't ever have a chance to win unless you try. And that's kind of what it all comes down to. I'm just really proud that you were willing to do that. And I'm, of course, elated that you had the victory you did. I love to celebrate victories when we get them.
Yeah, I'm quite happy to have a victory myself. It's still defeating that they were able to drag me through the mud for quite some time, and even more so to see that there were so many others that this happened to at the same time. But little victories one at a time are going to eventually turn into a large victory where eventually nobody's going to go to jail for a plant anymore.
Well, it's going to happen when we make it, when enough of us demand it long enough. And I'm just really grateful for the team up there in Manitoba and the Great White North, that you guys are standing with us. And I think the more arms locked together, the quicker it's going to get done. We can get back to doing good things for good folks and growing an amazing plant.
Absolutely, Joe. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Likewise. All right, folks, that was Mike Mailman from Manitoba, Canada, and just shared a great victory. We'll talk to you soon, Mike. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot. Take care, Joe.
Okay, we got Pete Yeaple on the line now, and Pete and I just reconnected after we hadn't had a much conversation in a few, Peter finds himself in New York, and looks like we're going to be working together a little bit more closely. I'm looking forward to this. Pete, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I as well, Joe.
Well, you're no stranger to this show, and you've got a show of your own that I've been fortunate enough to come on. Why don't you give us a little update? What's going on up there?
My show will be back on in 2 weeks. I won't take my time to, your time to promote mine other than just it's Can We Talk 420 radio. We'll have a whole new forum. It'll still be a 2-hour show, but we've broken things down a little bit differently than the show used to be. Our show used to be very, all caller driven, and it just seemed to me that I just need to make some changes. And me and you lost touch because I got very sick there for the last year. I ended up out in Oregon. We did, and my travels brought me back here to New York, where I'm originally from, and we're just here right now because our one of our children's having a child, so we'll be here at least till March before I decide where I'm going to go next. But I gotta say, Joe, the thing that I really want people to understand, and the thing that people, and I'm talking government, just the lay person, people that are opposed, and people that are for cannabis, that I personally, and I don't think anyone that I've ever come across in my entire life is geographically ill. So for us to have to herd to a place that is legal in some senses of the word to use cannabis, to grow cannabis, and to have cannabis as a daily part of our everyday, which it should, in my opinion, be a part of every human being on this planet daily, cannabinoids in general. And where do we reap them best than from the cannabis plant? But I'm not, nor is anybody else geographically ill, nor should I have to be licensed like a dog, in order to treat. Whose business is it what I do in my home that, if I'm not hurting anybody else, I guess is my way of looking at things. And a lot of it comes down to when we do have states. Now, New York now is a medical marijuana, on the board is a medical marijuana state. But being as blessed as I was, not that I was ill and was afforded the opportunity to go out west and to learn even more than I had already absorbed. But to see dispensaries and such the way they are out here, and then in comparison to where they are in the place that I am, it is day and night, completely day and night. You cannot buy a bud in New York. If you have a bud of marijuana, it is a crime. Unless you have a government-approved, government-issued, because everything's state-run, there's no privatization. There's really no help, and that's why only 3.65% of the people of New York are treating legally with cannabis. Why? Because it's overpriced. It's an inferior product. It's ridiculous. I mean, obviously not covered by insurance because it's federally illegal. And these are a lot of the problems that people have to understand, that if 60 some odd % of you voted for this, and we only have a 3% turnout, the government's going to say, see, people really don't want this, or this really isn't effective, or this really isn't a good program, and what are we really doing? And this is the thing they have to understand. Now, the only true way that any of us will ever be able to live the healthy life that we need to live, or should be entitled to live, just as a human being, is to completely repeal prohibition. And I'm not just talking coast to coast. I'm talking around this blue circle that we revolve around on every day. To me, it's ludicrous. As we always say, it's a victimless crime. No one gets hurt. So what is truly the big deal? So for those that have the unfortunate circumstance or happenstance to be caught, unfortunately, with this plant, and are now in jail, and their lives are now a part of the system, is completely unfair. And we need to, as citizens of this country, to band together and do all we can to get every last one of them out of jail, every human being on this planet the right to be able to grow, use, and take care of themselves. Listen, I was on 136 pharmaceutical pills a day. 136. It was eating meals of pharmaceuticals. I never would have got better. They were killing me. My blood pressure was 54/36 when I drove from Florida to Oregon. And I did it in 4 days, 15 hours behind the wheel to everything I could possibly do to be able to get there, to be able to treat. And because of it, I'm here again today. I'm here again breathing as well as I can. But the damage that's already been done is done.
Well, that's what this is all about. People that are fighting for one little thing or another, whether it's the recreational, and I put big old quotes, air quotes on it, because whether you believe it or not, whether you think it or not, whether you understand it or not, the use of cannabis is medicinal. Even if all it does is make you feel better, feeling better is medicinal. So the notion is really simple. It drives me nuts. It makes me sometimes want to hit myself in the head with a hammer, because I just can't understand why we just don't get it enough to just end this. And like you said, this is a worldwide issue. Cannabis could grow anywhere in the world, literally, and there's no reason why anyone in the world should be deprived of it. And in the places where it's been decriminalized, and I don't mean made legal, but I mean actually decriminalized, where you can't and don't get locked up for it anymore. In those places, there's never been an adverse effect to society. There has not yet one time been an army of zombies that rose up and started eating people's brains. There's never been a call for chaos and anarchy. There's never been anything other than life goes on and a few more people are less sick. And even if that's the only thing that happened, was a few more people were less sick, it would be worthwhile. And there's endless other positive attributes that happen. The cost to society of making people less sick is potentially infinite. I mean, imagine if we could do something that would cause people to be not as sick as they are. The burden on the healthcare system would be lessened, and maybe the people that needed real healthcare could get it. It goes on and on and on. The point is this, and Pete, you get this, and I appreciate that you get this, and that's why I want to say it together out loud. What we need is a unified voice. And whether you decide to be a part of the human solution, or whether you decide to join up with another organization, it doesn't matter. What matters is that we stand together unified. We lock arms together for this purpose, for the purpose of ending prohibition. There's no sense in prohibition. There's nothing.
Exactly. There's no room for egos.
Exactly.
About egos. This isn't about putting your name on something and walking around and looking, oh, look at me. This isn't about that. This is about human beings. But the fact of the matter is this, and every point that you made can be answered in a very simple statement. A government that has healthy, clear-thinking citizens is a hell of a lot harder to control than if you're fat, drug-addicted, held down. So, you know what I'm saying? And that's, it's a shame to say, because believe me, I was one of those drug-addicted people. I mean, they had me on so many opiates at a time, it was ridiculous. I mean, they had me on medications that it should be illegal, that would counteract against each other, that would put my life in jeopardy every day taking them. And I took them for 10 years at a time before finally a pharmacist said, "Why are you taking these? Or you should be dead." Right. And Helen happened to join me, Joe. I just picked her up from work.
Hello, Helen. How's it going today? Welcome to the show.
Hi, Cal. How are you?
It's good to hear your voice.
Yeah. And listen, you know me. I am so happy and so excited to work with you on any level, Joe. I've always have been. We've always supported each other. We've always had the same vision. And the point being is that everybody has the same thing. I don't care if you're fighting for child epilepsy. I don't care if you're fighting for cancer because you got cancer. I don't care if you're fighting because you just like to smoke a joint. At the end of the day, we all want and should have the same right. And that is to be able to grow and use the cannabis plant to our benefit.
Well, and also once people have the education that is so readily out there for all of us, then maybe their perceptions on why they're smoking pot will change, and they'll start smoking it for the right reason.
Or ingesting.
Health, period. It's a prerequisite to be healthy.
I couldn't agree with you guys more, and I'm looking forward to having you come on as a regular, and I'm glad to join your show as well anytime. I'm very much looking forward to working with you folks. I've been sort of, when the UCCA got the wind sucked out of it a little bit, and you guys, went traveling, I kind of felt like, we had a chance to do something great. Well, we still do, and I'm glad that we're reconnected, and I'm glad that you guys have the fire and energy that you do, because that's what we need. We need to get the people up off their couches, up off their chairs, and pissed off just enough to do something, because we've got some problems, and we have a real human solution here. We really do, and you guys are a part of it, and I'm grateful to have you.
Hey, Joe, I just want to make one more point real quick.
Sure.
Because I see a lot of people doing this out there on Facebook and on all social media and this, that, and the other thing. People have to understand this. Now, I'm a healthy man today, and I live in a state, I told you, I'm not a licensed dog. But you have to understand certain things, people. Everything you say, whether it's on the radio show, on Facebook, on anything, will be held against you if your ass gets in trouble. So you really have to be careful out there. I mean, 100 inboxes a day working at oil. I mean, I don't know. Look where you can get oil. I don't know what to tell you.
Educate yourself and make your own.
Right, exactly. I mean, this is the point we have to make to people that until we win this fight, until you open your mouth, stand up with us, raise your hand, raise your voice, raise whatever it is, and do whatever it is you can. Listen, everybody has an hour of their day, because I see you on Facebook. Make that time a little bit more, you know what I'm saying? Make it just a little bit more productive. I'm not saying Facebook is a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. It's not, but it's not going to change the world. Facebook is not going to change the world. I'm sorry. And people have to understand that.
The people behind it will, though, and you guys are absolutely right. And I'm very much looking forward to spending more time with y'all. We are running out of time, though. The show's just about done, and I got Tom Korby called back in with a few last-minute words, and we got an announcement to we got a winner on the Solidarity Ribbon Contest. So, Pete and Helen, always a pleasure, and I look forward to talking to you more in depth about all of this.
Yeah, it's a love, brother, and we'll talk with you soon.
You bet. All right, we got Peter and Helen Yeaple currently from New York joining the show today, and what's happening, and I think as much as I despise Facebook for so many reasons, this live stream seems to be connecting more people, and hell, if it works, we'll use it. You know why? Because we're about being effective. That's all that matters. Whatever works. If throwing a paper airplane across the room worked, I'd have a stack of paper airplanes. If putting a button and a piece of string on a soup can would work, I would be doing that. And so this is where we're at right now. All right, we got about 3 minutes left of the show. I'm going to go ahead and announce the winner. It looks like Albert Thomas is the winner from Hawaii, and I'm excited that happened this time, because Albert's been really kicking it into gear. And Albert's getting a thing going on in Hawaii now, and just an order of ribbons, and penetrated the courtroom and is bringing the human solution to the island. So it's an exciting thing. So Albert, you win this coloring book here, which is signed by Jack Hare Grass, The Great Revolutionary American Standard System, the official guide for assessing the quality of marijuana on a 1 to 10 scale for determining what you have and where you are at, by Jack Hare and Al Emanuel. So anyways, it's got a whole lot of good information in sort of it's not a coloring book at all. It's just got a whole lot of good information in it, just like The Emperor Wears No Clothes. So anyways, Albert, that will be heading your way. All right, we got time for Tom Korby to wrap it up, and here we are, Tom Korby with the NorCal chapter. Now, Tom, I want you to know that we are changing the chapter situation, and I just got a contact with Michael Schulze from up in Reading area, and he's ready to help get things lit up there again. But what we're going to do is we're going to only have 2 chapters in California. We're going to have the NorCal and the SoCal. So we're combining all the SoCal chapters into one, and we're going to combine all the NorCal chapters into one. And I'm going to basically, you're going to be the primary contact for all the folks in NorCal. I think the reason we're doing that, the reason we're doing that is to bring resources together rather than keep everybody spread apart and having 1 or 2 people. Now you'll have an alliance of leaders from all over Northern California, but you're going to be basically the liaison for all this. Tom?
All right, Joe. All right, thanks, Joe. And that's a really good idea. I think we've actually talked about that before. Michael Field, he's awesome up there in Shasta County. We never really actually lost the chapter completely, and we must put our rifts aside, come together in unity. I want to bring up Noel Cruz's case again. Point being made, if you have a good attorney, Jan Walters up in Nevada City, that's Grass Valley area. Good attorney right away start filing, and it's going to get, he or she's going to get all your discovery. Again, your police report, finish your first discovery, and you can find out what's against you and start working your own case with your attorney 50-50. No one knows your case better than you. Roel, I've known Roel, one of my best friends here, with Toby Williams and the crew here for many years with our collective. Roel Cruz will stand his ground. He will take no deals. Our mindset always is 995 dismissal, challenge the warrant on probable cause. Goes back, he goes through his first hearing. I believe it's probably, I'm going to Google it in, and that's probably Grass Valley, Nevada City, on November 6th at 9 a.m. Talk about a good attorney. First of all, she's going to make the motion, dismiss motions of probable cause, caution, traverse the warrant. Number 2, Roel doesn't have to be there. We really don't have to have court support. I'm not even sure it's worth putting on the calendar, but we can, Joe. Roel's thanking the Human Solution for their support. Also want to thank, nice to hear George Martorano on and hearing talking again. I can't imagine what he went through. Did 26 years in prison, didn't he, Joe?
33, I think. He was the longest incarcerated individual for pot at the time he was released.
Well, that just goes to show you that if you do stand your ground, you can survive in there. And and now Craig Cesal, time to get Craig Cesal out. What's been going on 17 years, another BS case, more of a victim of circumstances. When we talk about their busting the sheriffs and the game wardens, it's pretty sad that our warrants don't even need a warrant. Game wardens don't need a warrant. What they're doing every year up at Berry Creek, when you go across the expansion bridge, you're on federal land. They wait till all the medicine's cured, ready to go. Like you said, they're pulling over U-Haul trailers. And actually on that federal land up there, even if you smoke a joint on that federal land, you can go to prison. It's a sad state of affairs up there in Berry Creek with all our friends. I also want to bring up Eddie left, Heidi Grossman. Heidi left now. Actually, you've probably heard, she went to jail. Actually, that's in Marysville, where Eric Solano, they're in Yuba County. And I believe, she's out now, and they're working her case. And that's when we come with the sacrament, the church, it's a tough road to hoe. Even Tully, Jodea Fajro, on top of Trinity say, it's a tough road to hoe. Maybe in Eric Pierce's case, he's up against just with some eating mushrooms. You can use the sacrament, but it's best to have your doctor's recommendation and still use your collective. That seems to get it done in those courtrooms. I want to thank everybody on the front lines today coming together with the solution to end prohibition. No one should be going to jail for our sacred plan. I've been fighting for 50 years to have a right, and I'm thankful that I do have a right now to grow my medicine. So healthy, so good for folks to be out there and know God is working. Okay, thanks, Joe. All those on the front line, and come join us at the Human Solution International.org and help you the solution. And Donald would say, don't forget to bleed.
Well, thank you so much, Tom, and I do look forward to seeing you in person again. It's been a little while. I also want to thank everybody who helped make this show possible today. I want to thank Mary, our non-compliant screener, who I just love to death, and everybody else that participated. Our main guest, Robert Platshorn, contacted me halfway through the show, said he had a personal emergency, wasn't able to make it, but we will have him on again shortly, and it just kind of lets you know that we've got a full show even without a single full-time guest that came in. So thank you, everybody, for being part of this, and we'll see you next week.
I am Willie Nelson, and the Willie Nelson Teapot Party and I endorse the Human Solution, supporting cannabis prisoners because no one should go to jail for a plant. Little thing I should have said, Don, you were always on my mind. You were always on my mind.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.